Hey all, boardgamerants here, where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. Got ourselves a solo review here for Tekhenu Obelisk of the Sun, Daniele Tascini, David Turczi. Have they done it again? Well, they've done something. Let's have a look and we'll talk about it on the other side. Tekhenu Obelisk of the Sun. Let's have a quick look-see here. All the goods there. Got yourself a beautiful obelisk right there. And it's a big one. And sometimes it's like, peekaboo. Oh, you had dice back there? Anyway, so a towering obelisk, which has a very interesting meaning out here as you play this game. I've got my player area here. It's my player board. We've got the Bot common is what this is called. That's your AI opponent. Ruled by this adjusting pyramid-y thing. And so, yeah, I mean, very simply laid out. This determines, so it's going to always take this action first, associated with that symbol, and then you're going to flip this, and blah, 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 it's going to flip over. It's either going to have you climb up the pyramid or go sideways, based on whatever happens there. And then so it's either going to take this action or this action next. And then it's either going to take this action or this action next. And then it's going to take either this action or this action next. And then at the end of, that's 4 turns, there's going to be kind of a reset. This will go back. These all get shuffled up. And other stuff happens too for me as well. But you're going to do that 4 times. So basically 4 times 4, there's only 16 turns per game. So but going, yeah. So how do you, what's the game about? Well, it's a very fine question you ask. This is sort of an action selection game, I guess. We're going to have dice out here, randomly placed. To begin with, it's going to be 3 dice per section, and there's 6 sections. And different colors of dice, they sort of represent different types of resources. So you got bread, limestone, granite, and papyrus. Don't let that throw you off. There is a gold resource, which is a wild resource, but that is not it. That's papyrus. It can be a little tricky. Gray is just a neutral, basically only used for its die, for its pip value. So, but this obelisk here, interestingly enough, after every 2 turns, it's going to turn. And you can kind of keep track of, with this little arrow, you want to make sure that arrow's lined up with and you go here, and then something's going to happen, and then you're going to play 2 more turns, and then you're going to go here, and then something's going to happen, and then 2 more turns. So, and then you've got these little scoring things here that are going to tell you basically every 8 turns, and you can see that scoring marker up there. There's going to be a scoring thing that happens, and then this is then there's going to be a reset, and then boop, 2, 4, 6, 8 turns, oops, obelisk breaking. 8 turns later, you're at the 2nd scoring, and the game is over. So, back to where this was at. While this is turning around, you'll notice this light, and then sort of a gray, and then the black area there. That is going to tell you where these dice are going to line up. In each section, there's 3 sections. The dice are either going to be taboo, or forbidden, or pure. And that's going to be based on looking at this. You know, when the light is shining this way, white dice are going to be pure, and gold and gray dice are going to be tainted, and black and brown dice are going to be taboo. Taboo, you can't use those dice. You can only use tainted or pure dice for an action. And as that spins around, you're going to have to adjust accordingly. You know, on the night side, black dice are pure. Well, there's no black dice here right now. But white and gold dice are taboo when they're on the black side of the obelisk there. So as this rotates, that's going to change the dynamics of the actions you can take with which dice color. When you take an action, and again, you're basically going to take a die from one of these 6 sections, you can use it for one of 2 things. You can either use it to get a resource of the matching color, so 1 limestone, for instance, or 6 papyrus, or you can use it to take that section's action. And they're all kind of lined up nicely. You've got this section, associates with this area. and this associates with that area, and it kind of goes that way around the board like that. So it's kind of nifty in that fashion to kind of keep track of what you're trying to do. But if you ever use a die for its production, like I wanted to get 6, I wanted to take this die and I wanted to get 6 papyrus, well, you're limited with where your production cubes are. I could only actually get 2 papyrus with any one die. So that would be kind of a waste. I'd really want to work on my production there before. But anyway, so also when you take a die, you have to be mindful of where you're taking it from, and either tainted or pure. If I take this and I use it for whatever, I took it from the tainted sections, you're going to put it over here. Got this little scales. And after every 4 turns, you're going to measure your scales, and that's going to be meaningful. You're going to basically take your pure dice minus your tainted dice, the value of them. And there's some other things there that can manipulate that. It's not going to be exactly dice for dice. Sometimes you're going to get these little tokens which allow you to swing the scales one way or another. Also, if you get excess resources, those are going to end up in your tainted section. So, but that's going to determine basically who starts the next round, and if you're going to get docked any victory points. If you end up with too high a tainted value, a negative value, then your little marker is going to end up, down here, and if it gets too far, you're going to end up losing 3, 2, or 1 victory points. But if you have more on the pure side, you're not going to lose any victory points. But the closer you are to the 0, that's the person who's going to be able to go first the next round. So right now I would go first the next round because I'm at the 1, which is closer than the -2 to the 0. However, it kind of, if this was here and I even though I was way over here, well, orange would go first because again, it's closer to that 0. So at the end of the game too, whoever is basically in the first position there is going to get 3 victory points. But that's like at the very, very, very end of the game. So, but that's something you have to keep in mind as you're collecting dice. You don't want to, you got to be teeter-tottering and being mindful of that. And so what do these actions do when we take them? Well, there's all, of course, about scoring victory points. And so if you were to take, I don't know where we're going to start here. If you take an action from, well, let's start here. So this action is going to have you increasing your happiness level. So you got a happiness tracker here, you got a population tracker here. As these go up, you're going to qualify for victory points. You might get some extra bonus resource stuff as you work your way up the tracks, and it's basically an unlock access to these cards. These cards down here are going to give you, these technology cards basically give you an ongoing benefit you have for the rest of the game. These are blessing cards. They basically give you a one-time benefit. And then this card, which isn't unlocked yet, is a decree card, which basically gives you an end game scoring bonus. So it gives you a goal to shoot for, basically. So that's what, and then here, depending on the value, you've got these scribes. These can be used to adjust your die. So, every good dice game is going to have a way for you to adjust the die that you take. And so for every scribe you use, you can adjust that die up or down up to 2 spaces. But you can't go like from a 1 to a 6. I can only go from 1 to 2, or 1 to a 3 with a scribe. So that's what these scribes allow you to do. But going on to this action, here you spend your papyrus depending on the number of the die, and that basically powers the action that you can take in that section. So it allows you to get these cards and either pay no papyrus and get 1, or pay some amount of papyrus and get 2 or 3 cards. So that's this action. Over here is, I forget what it's called, market action or something. Basically allows you to cost you a happiness because you're making, I don't know, you're having to build a structure, but then you just take a structure from your board and you're going to put it out here based on the number. It's going to tell you what row you can put it in, and then you're going to move up on your resource tracks. You're going to get some resources, and then during the scoring, whoever has the most houses in a certain column is going to get victory points. So that's that. And then over here, so here is how you're going to build your statues. And you can build statues either on one of the 6 action types, and you can see the bot starts with 1 here. But now if anybody takes that action or dice from that action, the person who has a statue there gets a little bonus associated with it. And I've got the bot gets like certain different bonuses, which I have these out here for, versus the player would get other bonuses if they've got if they've spent the granite necessary to put their statues. You can put it's not the sturdiest of obelisks. You get up here. This is one of the more involved actions. You basically take a die, and again, it's associated. You'll be able to take one of these tiles. You look at these tiles, they're going to have different shades. So black, white, gray, depending on where this obelisk is at, you would get those bonuses if you build that tile. So if I used this 5, I would be able to build this. I would get its bonus because the die was taken when the obelisk was there. I would basically have to spend 3 limestone, 1 granite. I'd place it somewhere out here. And if you manage to line up colors with other tiles that are already out here, or these colors with the borders here, you're going to get points for that. You're going to get the resources or whatever you cover up with that. If you have houses built in these sections here, you're going to get points for houses as you build your, that's what these little pillars are. You put your little pillar there. Ta-da! And that's how you add to the temple out here. And then lastly, you have this section here. This allows you, when you take dice, you're going to spend bread. That's how you put these buildings out here. And these buildings are going to help you get the resources with the row or column they're associated with when you place them, and score you points if you've got your little or pillars there. And this also affects your population track. Down here, this one affected your happiness track. So those are all the things that you do out there. And again, every 2 dice is kind of the magic thing here. So you're going to get 2 dice. And then what happens is you actually get to draw from this little bag here. There's some dice in here. You're going to add to the obelisk. You're going to turn it. You're going to get another 2 dice here. Let's say we go like that. Then you're going to have to deal with the whole turn order thing. And then then you're going to clear those all off. You're going to kind of do all that again. And then once your 8 turns in, you're going to be doing a little scoring. And during the scoring, you're going to have to keep track of, we don't have to keep track of anything. If you've built stuff out here, you're going to get points. If you've built stuff out there with your pillars and your buildings, and you're going to get points. If you've put out statues out there, you're going to get points for that. You can get points for just straight up for building statues. The more statues you build, you're going to get points for if you get way down here and you built all your houses, you're going to get points. You're going to get points for where you are on this happiness track. You got to keep track. When you build these houses, though, you do have to pay bread, so you want to keep track of that. Also, too, if you max out on your production, you're going to get some points as well. The bot scores in a very similar fashion, but just when it gets cards, it's going to score very generic, points. 2 points for each blessing, 2 points for each technology, 4 points for each. So it scores in a simplistic fashion, easy for you to keep track of as you're playing this solo. You caught me. Had a little game in the background there, didn't I? Oh yeah, Teotihuacan was one of my favorites from 2 years ago, I think 2018. That was the first time they really teamed up, Daniele Tascini and David Turczi. And Teotihuacan, I remember playing 4 or 5 times. I didn't even really like it. I'd really not played anything kind of like it. And it was so much to kind of wrap your head around from a mechanical standpoint. And then learning. David Turczi was really coming to the forefront as a solo designer. And the solo design was, oddly enough, it's kind of a pyramid shape, just like this one. But it was pretty complex to run. But then once I got into it and started really feeling the game, so to speak, 6, 7 plays in, well, anything fiddly in the beginning, you get 15, 20 plays in, it feels smooth as glass. It's a beautiful game. So where does Tekhenu fit in all this? This is their second game, very similar game, teamed up. Well, very generally, I would say it feels like a watered down version of Teotihuacan. It feels like a entry level Teotihuacan. And oddly enough, again, I see on Board Game Geek, I don't really understand the weighting. Right now, Tekhenu is weighted heavier than Teotihuacan. And maybe from a multiplayer standpoint, I don't know. But it does not feel heavier to me, not by any stretch. I mean, I feel like now that you get Teotihuacan under your belt, this game has kind of all the similarities. It just has a similar vibe to it. It was very easy to get into. It took me 4 or 5 games Teotihuacan. The second game in, I felt like I was running on Tekhenu, just blazing along. Plays kind of a faster pace to it. Again, just love it. Well, it's less heavy. It feels less heavy to me from a solo standpoint, and the bot is way easier to run. It's got a similar thing to it, a little, like I said, a little pyramid structure, but it moves a lot easier. It's a lot more predictable, which I don't know. I really like that. But at any rate, back to Tekhenu. From a tactile standpoint, awesome. These games, this game, demonstrates the value you can receive for a game and still get good quality components. And so did Teotihuacan. The setup and teardown of Tekhenu is much. I mean, it's going to take a good 10 minutes to set that game up, and maybe 5 minutes or so to reset between plays. It's going to take up a nice full-size coffee table, 3x3. You got a good replayability with this game too, with all the cards that come out, which is very different than Teotihuacan. There's no cards really. There's just which really mixes it up and really sets the two apart, in my opinion. Tekhenu is having these cards that now you can really go for and really kind of craft your game around, which is pretty cool. So a lot of strategy there. The mechanics are very similar. You got this dice mechanic. I do find it to be less interesting than Teotihuacan. I find it to be more generic, I guess. I mean, there's ways you can manipulate the dice and stuff, but when you're rolling the dice and based on the obelisk and where those dice end up at, there's still some cool variabilities there. I just don't find it as interesting as Teotihuacan. And but the mechanics though are just solid. They're just the way that Daniele Tascini does that, and then the way David Turczi kind of incorporates and builds a solo around it is magnificent. I feel like this was very, very polished, but again, dumbed down. I don't know if that's the right word. It's not really dumbed down. It just felt like a more basic game to me than Teotihuacan. The length of play, you got yourself with Tekhenu, you got yourself a good, good hour game. And because you only got 16 turns, so it's just very much you got 16 turns to work with, so go see what you can do with that. And so the length of play stays pretty darn consistent, I would say. And the rule book I found was very, very easy to pick up on, and I remember struggling nothing like I did with Teotihuacan and trying to learn that whole thing. This was again, I feel like it just prepared me for Tekhenu. Having, I want to say mastered, but really, I mean, I've got the mechanics down for Teotihuacan, and just translating that out over to Tekhenu, just the similarities are they're all there. It just feels like, okay, this kind of game again. And there's some difficulty adjustments you can do, and that is one thing. This game, I found it hard. I'm either not very good at Tekhenu, which is quite possible. And I played, I think, 9 times now, and I've only beat on simple. I've only beat the bot 2 times out of that. So I find that's what keeps me going. I want to say I love losing, but that does keep me, ready to go again. It's like, damn it, I want to win. and now it's like, oh gosh, on medium mode, because the first game I played, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna do it on a medium level. Whoops. So then I went to easy level, and then so I guess out of 8 games, I've only won it twice. So I don't know, I'm just not that very good. I don't really go for the cards. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure I could play it way better and do much better. But at least it's, it keeps me engaged that way. And the solo design is again, it's just brilliant. It's David Turczi brilliance in how it's put together, but even more accessible. It's very easy to run. However, I think that almost takes away from the game, in its variety, and the fact that there's a 50-50 chance it's going to do one thing or another. So you can really look at that and sort of, whereas with Teotihuacan, it was more of it was a roll of the dice, and it could have done any of 5 different actions instead of just 2. And I mean, the odds were it was going to do basically a certain action, but the dice would mess with you. So I did not find the solo variant for this as engaging and as brilliant as Teotihuacan, but it was still better than almost all solo variants out there. as far as how it was implemented, I think. And it's, I mean, it's just a fun game. It really is. It plays quick. Has me. I mean, I wouldn't play a game 9 times if I didn't like it, and I like this game. But if I were to compare it, to bring it back down to what I've experienced with Teotihuacan, I keep bringing up. But the first game of Daniele Tascini that really, kind of in the same realm was Tzolkin, the Mayan calendar, years ago. Gosh, when that game came out, and that's when I was still playing a lot of multiplayer games. I was playing some solo, but a lot of multiplayer games, and that got a lot of plays in. And it was just so novel. I mean, there was really nothing like those gears and putting your guys out there and just letting time power them up. And it was very just intriguing gameplay. And it was beautiful too. I mean, just vivid, beautiful colors and stuff. Didn't have an official solo variant. That's what, it had some, I feel like I tried an unofficial solo variant and it was just like, it was so basic. But still, if I were to rank, these 3 games, I would say Tekhenu is for me, it's a very much third place. Teotihuacan, because of its solo variant, by far first, and just heavy. And I mean, and you look at Teotihuacan, I got tons of award nominations and stuff, and I just don't see that happening with Tekhenu. Maybe it will. It hasn't been out for that long. I think there's 11,000 ratings for Teotihuacan, 1,000 for Tekhenu. So still a lot to be said, but yeah, I just don't feel like Tekhenu's just on that same level as the uniqueness and the interesting dynamic that had really never been done before back when the Mayan calendar Tzolkin came out, and then Teotihuacan. This is just more of a kind of an accessible sort of an intro Daniele Tascini / David Turczi game to me, and does not have the same weight and everything that I really enjoyed with Teotihuacan. So could I do without it? Yes, I would never do without Teotihuacan. But Tekhenu, is it still a good game? Absolutely. Is it a solid solo variant included with that game? Absolutely. But those are my thoughts, and I'd love to hear if you have any comments. Please note those down below. But until next time, I'm boardgamerants. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm out.